All right, let's jump right back into this explainer and catch up with our traveler, Arav. Now, Arav is feeling pretty good about himself. He finally gets what a mutual fund is, he knows what a unit is, he's wrapped his head around NAV, net asset value, and understands that it's basically the price tag for just one of those units. But as he stands in the old fund manager's office, clutching this brass coin that represents his newfound knowledge, he's about to hit an even bigger wall. He suddenly realizes that knowing what a mutual fund is and actually picking the right one, yeah, those are two completely different beasts.
To really grasp Arav's total confusion here, the fund manager takes him up to the top of a high tower and points to the sprawling city below. There are 45 great asset management houses, or AMCs, spread all across the city, and inside those houses, a massive, mind-boggling 1,510 different rooms. Those are the mutual fund schemes. You see, an AMC isn't just one single fund. They can run dozens of different schemes as long as they get regulatory approval. Arav is just staring down at this gigantic kingdom, completely overwhelmed, thinking, how in the world is anyone supposed to choose?
And this is the moment where Arav hits a dead end. Utterly stuck. He turns to the old fund manager and blurts out the only question that really matters. How do I actually know what a particular fund does? Like, how do you even tell them apart when there are thousands of options? The old fund manager just gives this knowing smile. He reaches behind his heavy wooden desk and, to solve this massive mystery, he pulls out a deceptively thin, simple little booklet. No glowing golden cover, no ancient symbols. Literally just a few pages filled with numbers, tables, and paragraphs.
Arav just stares at it, kind of confused, asking, "What is that?" The fund manager tells him, "This, my friend, is the fund fact sheet. It is the fund speaking for itself. So don't think of it as some boring, dry financial document. Think of it more like a map." The fund manager explains that if you're actually going to hand over your hard-earned cash, you absolutely need to know exactly what he plans to do with it. How much risk is he taking? Who's actually pulling the strings? This little booklet is the map that lays out precisely what the manager is authorized and planning to do with your money.
So Arav opens up this map, and the very first thing he spots is the fund's objective. Now you can imagine this objective as a sort of invisible fence. It sets a really strict boundary. A fund manager can't just wake up on a Tuesday and decide to throw the entire fund into whatever flashy new trend is taking over the internet. The objective is their absolute mandate. If it clearly says predominantly small-cap companies across sectors, then that is exactly what they have to do. Arav suddenly gets it. The fact sheet lays down the rules of the game before you even start judging the player.
Right below that objective, Arav stumbles upon the fund's secret recipe. This is their specific methodology for picking high-quality businesses. They're looking for things like the integrity of the promoters, rock-solid cash flow, simple business models, and low leverage. Arav is honestly pretty impressed by this rigorous search for the best businesses, but the fund manager stops him with a gentle warning. He says, look, don't think you need to go out and do all this heavy lifting yourself. Because think about it, if you had the time and the crazy skill required to evaluate all these metrics better than a pro, well, you just invest directly in the stock market yourself. You are paying a professional manager so that they, with all their complex research systems, can execute this exact recipe for you in the real world.
Moving right along, Arav spots a rather strange word on the next page, benchmark. To explain what this means, the old man mentally transports Arav to a racetrack where an elite, professional sprinter is lining up to race against a totally regular, everyday person. Arav literally bursts out laughing, realizing it's a completely ridiculous comparison. I mean, you would never judge a reliable family car by racing it against a Ferrari, right? The Ferrari is always going to win, but that doesn't mean the family car is somehow bad at getting your kids to school. In the same way, a fund must only be compared to its appropriate market index. A small-cap fund needs a small-cap benchmark. That benchmark gives you a truly honest, meaningful reference point to see if the fund is actually doing a good job.
Turning the page, Arav notices three specific words grouped together, almost like a mysterious crest representing the fund's core identity: open-ended, equity, growth. These three little words actually reveal three entirely different, super crucial things about the fund's DNA. So let's decode these alongside Arav.
To crack the code on that first word, the old man brings Arav down a hallway that has two massive doors. Arav walks up to take a closer look. The first door has a heavy, fixed expiry date bolted right onto it. When that specific time period ends, the fund shuts down completely. That is a closed-ended fund. But the second door, it doesn't have an expiry date at all. You can literally walk in and out whenever you please without a predetermined end date. That is an open-ended fund.
And let's be real, for most of us, these open-ended funds are way more convenient because they don't lock your money up in a room until a set maturity date. Next up, Arav spots a date printed on the fact sheet. It's called the allotment date. Basically, this is the fund's birth certificate. It tells you exactly when this whole operation kicked off. Naturally, Arav thinks that an older fund gives him a longer history to look at, which is absolutely true. But then he asks, wait, does older automatically mean better? The fund manager leans in, his voice getting super serious, and just shuts that idea down immediately. He says never confuse age with quality. Having a long history is definitely useful context, just like looking up the track record of the specific manager running the scheme, but age alone, it definitely does not magically guarantee future performance. Okay, now this next part is absolutely fascinating. Arav sees the phrase regular plan, and the old man suddenly paints a picture of a busy farm. Imagine an onion farmer who works hard to harvest his crop, but a middleman is the one who actually delivers those onions to the buyer. The buyer, of course, has to pay the middleman a cut for the delivery. In this scenario, the farmer is the AMC, the onions are the mutual fund, and the middleman is a distributor who's earning a commission. That's what a regular plan is. You're indirectly paying for the distribution of the fund. But then, the old man points out a direct shortcut. No middleman. You just go straight to the AMC to get your onions. This is called a direct plan, and it acts as a massive cost-saving shortcut. Two people can be invested in the exact same fund, but they have completely different cost structures. And over a long time horizon, avoiding that middleman's commission means thousands of extra dollars compounding right in your favor. So that naturally brings us to a big question. What actually happens to your profits? The old man directs Arav's attention to three distinct paths. He tells him, look, ignore all the complex textbook jargon for a second. Just watch where the money actually goes. If you walk down path 1, labeled Payout, the profits are handed directly back to Arav as cold hard cash. If you go down path 2, Reinvestment, that cash is automatically used to buy him even more units in the exact same fund. But it's path 3, labeled Growth, that really catches Arav's eye, perfectly matching that crest he saw earlier. Here, the profits are left completely alone. They are locked inside the fund to compound, snowballing into something massive over time. Flipping to the next page, Arav sees a calendar, but it acts like a monthly clock. Tick, the 5th of January, 5,000 rupees. Tick, the 5th of February, 5,000 rupees. Tick, the 5th of March, 5,000 rupees. This perfectly introduces the Systematic Investment Plan, or SIP. Instead of dropping a massive lump sum all at once, you're just planting a brand new seed on a recurring monthly clock. The fact sheet is super handy here because it tells you the exact rules for this. Stuff like the absolute minimum amount you need to invest each month and the minimum initial investment you need just to get your foot in the door. It lays out all the entry requirements right there on the map. Just when Arav is starting to think he's reached the end of the map, he hits a toll gate, the load structure. The old man explains that back in the day, funds could hit you with an entry load just for the privilege of investing. Thankfully, that's pretty much a thing of the past. However, you absolutely still need to watch out for the exit load. Think of this as a penalty tollgate. If you try to pull your money out too early, let's say within the very first year, the fund might smack you with a 1% exit fee. The fact sheet explicitly tells you the cost of leaving the party early, so you're never caught off guard. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important instrument on the fact sheet. Arav looks down and sees a dial with its needle pointing squarely at the red zone, very high. This is the Riskometer. Now Arav wonders, why on earth would a fund voluntarily advertise its own danger level? Well, it's because of a strict regulatory framework designed specifically to stop mis-selling. A highly volatile small-cap fund cannot be legally disguised as a safe, low-risk product. The fund literally has to warn you. As the old man tells Arav, seeing a very high rating doesn't mean you should run away and never invest. It simply means you need to truly, deeply understand the beast you're trying to ride. Staring at that very high risk warning, Arav feels a genuine spike of fear. How are you supposed to make something that is inherently dangerous feel safe? The old man looks out toward the distant horizon and answers with just one single word: time. This is the ultimate antidote. A short-term storm might easily wipe out a single vulnerable little seed, but decades of time? That turns those tiny seeds into a massive, unbreakable, deeply rooted forest. Time is exactly how you survive the risk. Arav slowly closes the thin booklet. He finally gets it. This fact sheet isn't just a bunch of random numbers. It's a detailed map that answers every critical question before he hands over a single coin. He knows exactly how to read this map now. But as he looks out over that massive, sprawling city of funds, he realizes he still has one big problem. He doesn't know which specific kind of fund he should actually choose. The old man just smiles and points toward a new, undiscovered district where an enormous, heavy gate is slowly starting to open. And carved right above that gate is a single word: equity. Arav tightens the straps on his backpack, feeling completely prepared. The map is in his hands, and tomorrow, we are entering the Equity Kingdom. So what exactly lies beyond those massive gates? You're definitely going to want to stick around to find out in the next part of our explainer.